Nemo, newcomer of orange and white, you have been called forth to the summit of Mount Wanahakalugi to join with us in the fraternal bonds of tankhood.
Huh?
We want you in our club, kid.
Really?
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. And I firmly believe that one of the real issues within comic books today is the tribalism that is in there. And it's almost like people think that there are only two sides to all of this. Like either you're with this side or you're with this side. And the reality is that there's this enormous amount of people that are sitting there in the middle. Perhaps they're more closely associated with the SJW comic creator side, or they're more closely aligned with the Comicsgate creator side. But it doesn't matter whether you've aligned yourself with that or if that's kind of what you believe in. Both sides do it. You say something that the SJW side doesn't like to say, you're Comicsgate, Wes. You're just Comicsgate. You are a part of a hate group, sir. So therefore, no one should ever listen to your opinion. And I'll be honest, the Comicsgate thing does not bother me. You want to say I'm Comicsgate? Whatever. I've been told I'm a Comicsgate. I've been told I'm alt-right. I've been told I'm a Nazi. I've been told I'm an SJW. I've been told I'm a woke-tard. I get called everything. Whatever. But it's part of this tribalism to where we have to categorize people and put them in these tightly constricted boxes rather than talk to people or understand what they're saying on an individual basis. You could agree with some of the things that Comicsgate say and not be completely aligned with it. You could have some points of view that more aligned with what the SJWs are saying. But if you say that thing that is more on the other side, the Comicsgate people are going to say, you're just a dirty SJW. We don't have to listen to you. You're just trying to destroy the industry. And so you get this really stupid back and forth where everybody essentially has their agency denied from them. It's all removed. Any bit of individuality is removed from what you're saying. You're taken essentially at a soundbite. At this point in time, you said this. Let's cut off the context on either side of it. That means you're Comicsgate. That means you're a dirty SJW. Therefore, you are not to be listened to. You will be mocked and just made fun of or kicked to the curb, or nobody listened to this person ever again. It's clear they were infiltrator all the time. It's, Wes is just an SJW. But whatever. But the problem is these things, a lot of what we're discussing, and what certainly what I discuss here on the channel and other comic book YouTubers discuss, these are complicated issues. The issue with Jon Kent being bisexual, it's not, do you hate LGBT people or not? That's what a lot of people would like to distill it into. That's what the SJW or the woke side would like to distill it into. Do you like LGBT people or not? That's your litmus test. If you don't like this change to Jon Kent, you hate them. That means you're a bigot, you're a homophobe or something. And then on the other side, do you respect the character? Do you appreciate the history of Superman? If you are for this change of Superman, you do not, and therefore you are a dirty SJW. So you get these weird, what do you call it? Like a litmus test. And you're essentially having to pass it every single day if you actually want to be a part of one of these groups. And if you're not wanting to be a part of these groups, I like to be an individual. I have no problems, do whatever you want. If you want to be on this side, you want to be on that side, go do your own thing. Even if you're not a part of these groups and you've said it, you're still a part of these groups and you're still applied the same litmus test to you. And then, people will sit there and talk crap on you or dismiss anything that you say outright, no matter the context, because you said one thing that went against a point of view of one side or the other. And you get these stupid tribals. There are way more groups that are reading comic books that are watching my videos than two. You've got your old school comic book fans that have been in the hobby, since they were 5 years old. They're in their 60s now. And they're going, what the hell? I just want my old characters back. You have maybe some people more my age that are more like, this is a culture war. I see what's going on. You got to point it out. I'm kind of more in that kind of category. They look at what's going on. At least that's what I've been lately talking about DC Comics, you got some younger writers who came in, and Brian Michael Bendis was the end all be all. They like this decompressed storytelling. They might appreciate some of these changes to the characters more. So you have way more groups, and in fact, you have way more individuals in groups. If you try to group them together, you're always going to find a dissenting view that doesn't exactly align to the box that you're trying to put people in. And here's the problem. I'm going to talk about two viewers of the channel. And if you look at them just on their opinion of a subject, you will miss why they have that opinion or why they have formed it, or the fact that they might be coming to that opinion from a completely different angle and direction than you are seeing, because you are only seeing it from your own point of view. And some of you may say, but Wes, you propagate this problem yourself. Okay, yeah, of course. I'm human. I do fail sometimes. Sometimes I may overreact, or maybe I do make things a little bit more simple than they really are. But things are complicated, and that's what we're here to talk about. And I can admit that sometimes I could be wrong every once in a while. It could happen. And you guys call me out on that stuff, when I am, and sometimes when I'm not. It does happen. But we will take the Jon Kent Superman thing at first. Some of you may know Tevye Smoka. If you go and you watch Comic Book YouTube and you comment, you likely know who Tevye Smoka is. He has his own YouTube channel, and he watches everything. And when I say everything, I don't mean he doesn't watch everything, but he will watch Comicsgate channels. He will watch more skeptic channels like mine. He will watch more news-oriented channels like Comics by Perch. He'll even watch the stuff that's more associated with the more progressive ideas and people that are championing progressive pushes within comic books. He watches all of them, and he comments on all their channels. What that tells me is that Tevye Smoka is neither Comicsgate or an SJW. He's just a big comic book fan that wants to keep up on all the things that are going on, and he wants to see multiple points of view about the discussion that's happening. Now, we will talk about Jon Kent, because if you see Tevye Smoka in the comments, you will know likely that his favorite comic book character in the entire world is Jon Kent. To my knowledge, he probably knows the character better than anyone else other than Peter J. Tomasi. Anytime you bring up Superman or Jon Kent here on the channel, you're going to get a comment from Tevye Smoka saying, I love the Super Sons. I love Jon Kent. He does not agree with the change that Tom Taylor has for Superman, for him being confirmed as bisexual in Superman Son of Kal #5. I have that opinion as well. But we come from two different places. The reason I say is at this point, it's clearly a marketing point. You're pandering to the audience, and you are changing characters to fit the progressive agenda that Tom Taylor wants to push within comic books. That's my position. Tevye Smoka's position is that his favorite character is Jon Kent. He has read all of his comic books. He sees what he has done as a young man. He saw, sorry, I'm still a little sick. He's seen what he's done when he went to the future in the Legion of Superheroes and all that stuff in between. And for him, the character progression does not fit the character of Jon Kent and the story that has been told with that character heretofore. I got to take a drink of water. My throat is killing me. He, Tevye Smoka, did not come to this conclusion because he hates anybody. It's not that he is not supportive of LGBT people. It's not that he's not supportive of the LGBT community. It's not that he's not supportive of LGBT characters being within comic books. As far as I know, he supports all of that. He's unsupportive of the change because he does not feel like it fits the character. And that is a perfectly acceptable point of view to have. In fact, as the biggest fan of Jon Kent, we should probably be going out there and talking to Tevye Smoka and say, what do you think about this? Because he will have a point of view that is based almost entirely in a love of the character rather than a position on a culture war or an agenda being pushed by DC Comics, which clearly is impacting my opinion. And I can admit that. So if you just went there and you said Tevye Smoka does not approve of this change, he is a bigot. He does not approve of LGBT people. He's he's homophobic. He's biphobic. He's a phobic, and all these things without learning the point of view and the actual opinions being put forward by Tevye, because there is context to these things, and you will miss the entire position and his entire story and why he believes this, and thus you will deny him the agency of who he actually is as a person. And he is fully allowed to not believe this. And I'm fully allowed to not agree with this change for my reasoning. We're all allowed to have opinions, and they do not have to agree with you. I hope people don't come away from my video saying, if you don't agree with me, you're a moron. You are fully entitled to believe whatever you want. If you are in support of this Jon Kent change, I'm glad for you. You and I happen to disagree about a change. I'm going to express my opinion. You express yours. As long as we're cordial about it, it's all good. Now we'll go over to another change at DC Comics that is somewhat similar, but there's a different point of view from a reader. We recently had Tim Drake, who is rarely used in DC Comics. He was also outed as bisexual in the pages of Batman Urban Legends. Now, Tim Drake is a much older character. He's been established within DC continuity, I believe, for 30 years now. We know who created the character, and they likely would not. I do not believe they. Don't believe they didn't create Tim Drake with ever being in mind that character would be a bisexual character. That was not who the character was created to be, and you can see the history of the character does not actually fit that. Once again, my position: this does not fit the character. More propaganda, more agenda pushing by DC Comics. If you think I'm wrong, that's perfectly fine. There is a person, a viewer of the channel, that disagrees with my take. That does not make him a bad guy. Jamie Andreasen is a longtime viewer, good guy. I've had him on the channel before. He is an enormous Tim Drake fan. And when it came out that Tim Drake would be confirmed as bisexual, he was highly supportive of this. And he, not only because Jamie is part of the LGBT community, but as a fan growing up reading Tim Drake stories, he personally had always imagined that that's who Tim Drake was. In his head, when he would read it, he thought, I think that Tim Drake is a bisexual character. That does not make Jamie Andreasen a shipper. That does not mean that Jamie Andreasen wants every character in DC or Marvel to be, come out as LGBT representative. In fact, he's against the Jon Kent one, shockingly enough. But in his mind, and when he read Tim Drake, the story made sense. You cannot go there and deny him the agency and say, well, because you agree with this change, you clearly hate the history of the character and what the character represents. Therefore, you are a dirty SJW, sir. And that's all that you represent, and that's all that you agree with, and that's the kind of agenda that you're pushing forward. You can't say that about Jamie, because his opinions and the way he's expressed himself about the characters, he does not always agree with these changes. It just so happens, in this case, he thinks it works, and it makes sense for the character. But if you were just to go into the comments or go on to social media and you were to see what Jamie Andreasen said specifically about Tim Drake, you could come up with an opinion about him that would be completely off base, because tribalism is absolutely murdering us when it comes to treating people as individuals, for understanding their points of view, allowing them their own agency, and to not believe that just because Jamie Andreasen agrees with the decision of the LGBT bisexual representation of Tim Drake now, that he must just be an SJW. That he has no reason to come from this other than he wants to push this agenda. No, he has different reasons. He has a completely different angle than you or I or anybody in this world, to be completely honest, is coming at that character. Because his relationship with Tim Drake is completely unique to Jamie Andreasen. And it's about time that we allow people the agency and the ability to disagree on these things. Stop lumping everyone together. Just because they have an opinion on one thing doesn't mean they have the same opinion on everything else. You know how many times I put an opinion on this channel and people will get mad at me? Like, this, I never would have believed you thought that way. Well, stop assuming you know what I think about stuff I haven't talked about yet. I'm complicated. There's sometimes I might even, contradict myself every once in a while. I'm only human. I don't come to these conclusions the exact same way that all my viewers do. And I think that's one of the reasons that they appreciate what I do here on the channel, because I do try to explain myself and why I believe the way I do about some of these changes and what's going on within comic books. But we need to start understanding each other as well within the comic book community. There is nobody in this entire world that received the news about Jon Kent Superman becoming bisexual that came to their conclusion the exact same way that Tevius Smolka did. Because nobody in this world has the exact same relationship with that character that he did. I can disagree with you, but I cannot invalidate your opinion. If it is of your opinion that DC Comics need to take their characters and change more characters that have historically been in DC Comics to be more LGBT representative, I disagree with you, but you're allowed to have that opinion. I think it's hurtful, and I think it's going to do long-term damage to the comic book industry. That's what I think, based on what I've seen in the past and the trends and what we've seen as far as diminishing returns. I've expressed myself clearly about this on the channel. You can still have your opinion. We can disagree with these things. I shouldn't be, or I shouldn't, or the other viewers shouldn't just put you in a box and say that your opinion doesn't matter, or clearly that I can guess every other opinion you ever had. We need to get rid of the tribalism. If you want to be Comicsgate, be Comicsgate. If you want to be anti-Comicsgate, be anti-Comicsgate. If you want to be OG Comicsgate, be OG Comicsgate. If you want to be, a new wave of creators, be one of those new wave of creators. If you want to be an old school comic head, be an old school comic head. If you want to be a new hipster comic nerd guy, be that. But even if you are one of these people that can be defined, I guess, by a term, that doesn't mean anyone could tell you exactly how you feel on everything. And if they can, that means you are not thinking for yourself. If you could give me one opinion and I go, well, based on some of the stereotypes that I have of people that are in this box, these are all your opinions, and you're like, yeah, that's all my opinions. I'll be like, man, you get out of the box and start thinking. Stop putting yourself in these boxes, because tribalism isn't that important. We need to be able to communicate with each other. We need to be able to disagree with each other without using terrible terms and disparaging each other and just ripping each other down over comic books. These are important. These comic books in America are American mythology. They're part of the history. They're part of the culture. You're not ever going to hear me say they aren't important. But so are other people. And it's important that people get invested in these characters and aren't driven off because every time they go on social media or in the comment section of a video, people just dump on them and call them bad names. Ask them a question. How did you come up with this? If you disagree with them, have a little debate. When it's getting too hot, just exit stage left. Now you know who that person is. Maybe you don't want to talk about comic books with them in the next time. But perhaps the next person you try that with, you'll see where they're coming from. You're like, I didn't think about that. Or I understand what you're saying. I don't agree with it, but I really like this. And it turns out you're both, big Flash fans the whole time. You know what I mean? In the end, I truly believe this. With all this stupid tribalism thing, you take the labels off everybody. I truly believe this. With comic book fans, in the end, we have more in common when it comes to comic books than we have, than we don't have in common. If we just distill it down into the love of the medium, the love of the hobby, the love of the stories, the love of the characters, I bet you we could all find common ground if we stop calling each other's names and deciding that I know exactly who you are, exactly what you represent, exactly what your life story is because of one single opinion. Give Tevius Smolka the benefit of a doubt that when he said that he does not agree with the change that happened to Jon Kent Superman, that he is not a bigot, that he is not someone that does not appreciate LGBT people or characters. Give Jamie Andreason the benefit of the doubt that just because he supports the change with Tim Drake, that he's coming at it from the perspective of a fan that loves the character, that he's not coming in here and trying to just wholesale change every character within comic books to push an agenda that aligns with his sexuality. Jamie Andreason is a better person than that. Tevius Smolka is a better person than that. You're a better person than that, and I'm a better person than that. And I think when we realize that, we'll all be better friends, and it'll be a more enjoyable comic book community. I hope I didn't rant too much, but I'm not feeling well, and I had to get this done.